Hello. Gonna get started where I left off last week. See if I can't get this put a bow on this costume I've been working on. Yeah, it's a very nice star, isn't it? Such a took me a while. I wanted to get it just right. Hey guys, Vector Eye, what's going on? Graphic Lounge, how you doing? Oops. Alright, so we left off last week. Just want to finalize a bit of these pieces, finalize the kneecap. Really been struggling with that bracer a lot. The more I work on it, the more I hate it. Just something about it doesn't quite, like I want to make these buckles and kind of like a hard metal strap kind of, but I'm not really sure I like the design where the hard plastic pokes through to the cuff underneath. So might just like turn that into a Dynamesh and sculpt around it. I do like the kind of fins that match the shin guard there. Like I want to kind of keep that and let it sort of match the rest of the outfit. But it's just a little plain, and I'm just not sure how it should look, so I'm going to work on that a little bit today. You know, finding the design is something usually I can do on pen and paper, but maybe we'll just sculpt around and see if we can do something about it. Xena Shadow, how you doing? Welcome. Can you guys hear the music at all? Is it too loud, too quiet? I'm doing a new playlist today. Found a video game music for studying playlist. I find it pretty enjoyable. just working on the belt for this character here. As you can see, that's a Dynamesh underneath there. So just gonna want to make this low resolution so I can start getting high resolution detail projected onto it. I don't mind explaining. Usually I'm a little bit more talkative, but right now I'm just trying to, since I don't, like usually I can just be on autopilot when I know what the design's going to be, but I'm not quite 100% on the design of this, so that's when I tend to get quiet, when I start just getting lost in my thoughts and wondering what I'm going to do with a certain piece. Increase those corner edges and do some polygon groups. What's going on over here? Sorry guys, one sec. Hi there, Spike. It depends. You know, I know that's not a helpful answer, and it's probably the one most artists give. But yeah, just the reality is, it's just there's so many different levels of complexity. It's hard to sort of. Let me take this off. I mean, you know, this guy's anatomy was a little bit more exaggerated, and I had to tweak it a few times. So I usually spent several weeks on his body. But you know, there's times when it's like his costume can take, like, this costume is far more complex than the costume he uses in game. This is just like an external skin that we want to add as like a, you know, like a legendary skin for the game content. So like this whole outfit is going to be more time consuming than, I think I got his in-game costume done in like a day, 2 days, tops, including UVs and stuff. So this one's a little bit more elaborate, a little bit more thought going into the design, and there'll be more detail when I have to like do the leather and the patch in the back, and now I'm doing the belt. So, you know, I think like roughly when you're working with like contract character artists, stuff like that, like you end up getting like quotes of like anywhere from 3 to 8 weeks from like beginning to end, and just where they end up landing on that spectrum depends largely on the complexity of the character itself. So, you know, and also if you're doing like, that includes like getting into low resolution stuff. So like doing the UV maps and doing the low resolution topology, UV mapping, all that stuff. This doesn't need to be exact, I just, you know, I was reasonably happy with the design I had underneath, so I'm just trying to loosely match it. How long do you train your anatomy skills? That it was, you know, it still is difficult. I mean, it's something that I don't think you ever just, you know, it takes such a level of mastery to get to the point where it's like, you just know it like the back of your hand, you just know it cold. And even those guys, the ones who, like, I follow a few artists who just, I really respect their anatomy skills, they can just whip something up at their hands, or off the top of their head. Even they say they practice basically as just part of their routine every week. They're just practicing anatomy, and I actually started doing that a lot. I do, I keep like a Pinterest board of like anatomy and dynamic figures that I think seem to be difficult or interesting to me pose wise, and I I try to work off that, you know, on like a daily basis. And I'm actually a little bit behind right now because I haven't had time this last couple weeks. But like, you know, how long does it take to get the anatomy, you know, mastered is a tough question. I think, you know, a lot of artists would say that never actually happens. Whereas I would say, like, you know, to get to the point where you're trying to get, it might just be a matter of sticking with it and I think that's enough. Yeah, sticking with it and just trying to, like I said, just like drilling as much as you can. I mean, like, I've been drawing the figure for, you know, shoot, probably 15, 20 years. I've been working on the human figure, and you know, as a result, also, like, I'm not very good at doing creatures or animal anatomy. Like, it's like one of the things I kind of always focus on was the human figure, and it, you know, I'm still not even close to where I want to be with it, but it's one of my stronger suits, just only because it's what I've worked on more than almost anything else. Groups by normals, crease polygroups. Actually not happy with this anymore. Oops. Single poly. I'll take these off and do them again. The more I look at it, the more I prefer them just like flat like that. Edge up. Polish by groups. Draw another string of polygons right there in the corner. I'm gonna sculpt on this. Yeah, I like the ZModeler tools for just building up base shapes. Oh jeez, okay. Let's see if this doesn't crash on me. There it goes, came back. Nice. Save real quick. I like to use ZModeler just for, like I said, building up base shapes. It's pretty useful for that. Because like what I'm gonna do, like I've got like this, you know, just a sketch. There's a 3D sketch underneath what I'd like it to be. Now I'm gonna throw the low poly base on what I want to do with it, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just grab that pattern and I'll probably paint something on it that I think works. Machine can recover here. I'm trying to send it over to Maya real quick so I can mess with that topology in the front. Yeah, I did a little bit. I did a little bit of ZBrush topology on this. I actually used the topology brush on this already. Actually just use the topology brush to sketch out this shape. But if I can get it into Maya, which okay, I finally have. Even. I'll send it back over to ZBrush with my Go Z button. There that is. Yeah, it's good. It's something that you know, it takes a little getting used to, of course, especially like, you know, doing hard surface or like, you know, box modeling with a stylus is something that like, I never thought would ever make sense. But you know, like there's times when there's an operation that ZModeler actually does better than Maya, and I'll throw it back and forth and be happier with the result. With the Maya's bevel's gotten a lot better lately, so that's a plus. Push that out one more time. Crease, group my normals. Crease polygroups. Now hold those edges nice. Okay. I shared this guy's channel last week, but one of my viewers on the stream shared this guy with me, and I've been a big fan of his ever since. I think he's a Russian guy. Doesn't have any English on his stream, but does a lot of ZBrush hard surface, and just like it's insane like how much he gets done. Works pretty high poly, but just does like all manual hard surface stuff with the ZModeler tools. It's pretty impressive. Yeah, Skill Hard RU is the channel. Definitely worth checking out if you want to digest some workflows and see some dudes see a guy getting real after it. Alright, so the main thing I'll probably do now is Master, unwrap with symmetry and polygroups. Unwrap. project. Let's flatten it. I don't really need, all I really need to do is have to be flat. I don't really need anything other than just like a flat image of it. Because I'm going to paint over the pattern. So let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I was grabbing a screen clipping of it. I'm gonna hop over to Sketchbook. Put that symmetry line right there. Alright, now I'm just gonna like basically draw an alpha because I want to have yeah, I basically want to have this is like a nice flat UV, and so when I paint my alpha on this, I can I'll drag it out to the geo, and it should work okay. What's up, Ashton? How you doing? Godorian, welcome. How you guys doing? Live Boolean is like magic. I love Live Boolean. That was such a good ad. The cool thing that I've seen people do is like use Live Boolean with the array mesh. So like they'll use the array mesh to like tile some pattern around a circle or in some grid, and then use that to cut in and out of meshes, and then like stack those. It's really cool. Yeah, and like subdiv modeling is something that I yeah. Unbeveling, because you need to smooth it out. A million edges is the worst. Yeah, and Modo has an unbevel operation, so you can just like take a beveled edge and pull it off, and it'll make it the hard corner again. Maya doesn't have that, and so I am very careful about when I do get into beveling. But yeah. So what am I making right now? I'm just working on this character here. Where is it? Z plugin, unflatten. Just working on this guy. Like I said, that's just a 3D sketch, so I want to just kind of get something on top of it that I can put onto the model. Get some high resolution detail in there. As a matter of fact, though, this is going to make a lot more sense to do outside of ZBrush, because I am just going to do it as a sort of a stamp. So I think what I'll end up doing, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'll probably end up doing this off channel because A, it's not ZBrush, but I'll make this alpha and then I'll apply it in texture. So like once this thing is low polyed and sent off to the texture program, Substance Painter in my case, that's when I'll lay down those details, because hand sculpting in ZBrush is just going to make the file bigger than it needs to be, as well as it's not going to get me what I need in terms of resolution, because of course like ZBrush you have kind of infinite resolution, but I don't yet know how much texture resolution I'm going to have to show that belt. So what I tend to do is I'll make that part in the texture package, because A, I know how much detail I can fit into it without it losing detail, and B, it's a more accurate projection, because it'll just be in UV space. So I'll leave that alone for now. I'll just keep this as a low poly. Build plate low. I'll keep it hidden. I'll keep that one on. And I'll come back to that later. Everything else is pretty much solid with that belt. Low poly's already done. Okay. And for the jacket, I'll probably just start putting in the high poly details. is thick. I'm kind of debating about this jacket. If I want to delete the inner shell so I can sculpt some folds and some nooks and crannies here, and some just like, I don't want to do too much of that because this is gonna deform in game. Like the game mesh is gonna be set up as cloth. So yeah, it's just for a game. Yeah, this is like a wrestler skin. I might as well save this off. Let's see, this is for a character, icon, characters, Stanton, alphas, belt alpha. Yeah, this is a character for our game Disc Jam. This is one of his, this is like an alternate skin, which is, what's the word? It's a, like, all the characters kind of are dressed like, you know, future American Gladiator is like the kind of the theme of their, it's like arcade sports games. So they're all wearing kind of like just like arena combat kind of clothes. But this is like a legendary skin, which is like they're more, you know, outside the ring, they're outside the arena. What are they dressed? This guy is a wrestler. The other girl's like this army fatigues, and they all kind of have like just a more stylistic character, you know, sort of outfit outside of the game. So that's what this is. It's one of those. And yeah, I'm just basically, I'm almost done really, for the most part. Like I'm pretty much ready to go into texturing. The main things I want to do, I need low poly for this part. Actually, that's a pretty solid low poly already. I'll need to clean up these edges here because those edges aren't great. Yeah, it's pretty close actually. You know, it's just a matter of putting the finishing touches on it. I'm not, like I said in the beginning of the channel, I'm not wild about this bracer there. I need to do something with that wrist guard. But otherwise, I'm pretty close. Just, yeah, like I said, final touches. No, thanks for the follow, Ashen. Fingerless gloves is a good idea, Dazzy. I like that. Actually, the female character has fingerless gloves, and I don't know if it's too tired. Plus, if I do fingerless gloves, maybe if I did that black inner bit stretches down to the gloves. Like if I make that the part that's underneath that cuff there. The main problem is that he doesn't have. I didn't have any wrist geo because the original skin has big old gauntlets on them as well, or armor bracers. Now my main thing with it is I just don't like this buckles here. So if I can find a way to like pop out the face or maybe pop in those straps, I think I'll like it a lot more. Or if I even just like take it, turn it into clay. Hey, what's up, Ashley? A Cubed is one of our other Pixelogic streamers. She goes on Wednesday nights. She's really good. You guys should follow her, check her out her channel. She has her own channel as well as working on the ZBrush one. But the main thing is like, yeah, I hate how like it's supposed to be like a hard plastic to kind of match the hard plastic of the shin guards there. But I don't think it would interlock. I don't know that it makes sense how it interlocks this way. So I might even just like want to just, you know, take it, turn it into clay, subdivide it, and dynamesh it, and just start like sculpting away until I find a design I like. You know, I think maybe the thing to do is just duplicate that off, hide the original, subdivide, subdivide, subdivide. Did that? What the hell? It does not look like a Dynamesh at all. Oh, the project made that work a little bit better. That's interesting. I didn't realize projected either. Okay, I need higher resolution. That's better. Let's turn project off. It's a little bit better. Not great, but better. Yeah, I do Ashen. I do the character art, environment art. Do pretty much all of it. We're only a two-man studio, so I do all the art. For better or for worst. You know, still learning a lot. I got a long way to go till I'm like at the point where I want to be. But yeah, for the most part, I handle pretty much all of it, and then just try to keep getting better. The more work I do, the better I get, and just try to keep working, fixing the issues and things I hate, and moving on. So I'm gonna push all this back, see if I can't come up with a design I like better. Smooth stronger. So I think this part's fine, like I don't mind how, if anything, maybe it's like I'll just grab a section of it. Mask lasso. So I was doing everything pretty hard edge for a while with this piece. Now it's just like I'll turn it into clay and then just do a lot of this stuff manually. Just try to make some more interesting shapes out of it. Nobody's done. What the hell just happened? That's very strange. Obviously, I'd rather this be symmetrical, and it's clearly not right now while I'm just hacking away at it, but that's fine. I can come back and make this. Like right now I'm finding the design. I don't care as much about like precision. Once I have the design reasoned out, I can do a little bit more fixing up. You know, a lot of times it's just finding the right look is half the battle. Yeah, it's like a fedora, one per game. Exactly. Victor, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, Ashley, I've missed your stream the last few weeks. I've barely been able to do my own. I haven't been around in a while. We're shipping on Switch in like a week. So it's been crazy over here. I actually just had to email Pixelogic and cancel the next 2 weeks because we're shipping on Thursday next week. Hopefully, unless something terrible happens, we're releasing. And we've already announced that we're releasing, so fingers crossed. Alright, I already like that a lot more, that's for sure. Maybe this should come up off of the cuff a little bit so it's not like touching. Let's see what Ashley made. Yeah, we're really excited about the Switch console. Like we knew we wanted to go to new platforms, but then like we saw that the Switch had only 250 games on it and was selling like hotcakes. So it kind of made our minds up for us. So we basically dropped everything that we were doing and then tried to get our Switch build done as soon as possible. It's kind of been ready for a while, but just going through the submission process is very time consuming. So yeah, we're really excited. Oops. Here, that's a good selection, right? There you go. That's better. Love some good lassoing. Let's see what Ashley made yesterday. Twitch TV, Pixelogic, videos. Ashley always gets like a finished piece done, like every stream. It bothers me. I can never get anything finished. Look how good this is. This is Ashley's. Is A Cubed is Ashley. She goes the night before.
Oh, you haven't the word. That's so bad.
This is rad.
Jeez.
Oops. Did you add the feet at the end?
Yeah, Planet of the Apes is amazing.
Yeah, Ashley does that in one stream. So for those of you watching my stream today, you know, you'll be disappointed. That's really cool. That's a really rad design.
Like me, personally, then we can...
Yeah, while I'll be sitting here noodling geo parts. Let's see. I'll bust out the actual transpose line for this. I haven't done that in a while. Just pull this out and up. And come back here and chop all this out. This fall off sharp brush I'm using more and more lately. It's like it's just like a really super hard pen, like way harder than damn standard. It's good for just like in the very early stages. It's just like good for like what do you call it, like landmarks and stuff. Especially if you're doing human anatomy, like establishing those landmarks and everything. That brush is like, really helpful for just like, I know I need a cut here. I know like this edge is going to exist. It's not going to be a perfect finished cut. It's just that like I'm digging into the clay and like making sure I've got like my boundaries sort of delineated. Get down there. There we go. I appreciate that. Thanks, Rye. Yeah, we're really excited. You know, and then it's got cross-platform play too, so like all the Switch users can play against our PC user base, and PlayStation players can play against PC, but PlayStation doesn't allow cross-play, unfortunately. But if we add Xbox one day, then we can do Xbox cross-play with Switch. And we're a multiplayer game and very PvP centric, so you know, keeping that player pool populated is the real challenge. Alright, so I like that a little bit. That should just come off the arm just so. Yeah, it's not bad. It's a little too embedded in the arm, but it's getting there. grab the whole thing and push it up. And I think odds are I'll end up like, once I get this clay part worked out, I'll probably end up cloning it, making low poly geo, and just making it fully symmetrical, and then placing it back on the arm. Doing so like in a more traditional box modeling way. After I get like low resolution topology painted on the design I like. I think those hard corners are kind of lame. Maybe if I just chop that off. A little bevel there. It's too soft. I'll keep the hard corners for now. I talked about this a little bit in my last stream, but it's like it's always better to have your design worked out beforehand. But I'm trying to be able to do a little bit more design on the fly. A lot of my favorite artists are so good at just designing as they're working, and it's not really a strength I have. I'd like to get there because I think it just, you know, you don't need to see a solid concept, but you end up with something good. That's a nice speed increase for the overall pipeline. This thing's crooked, but I don't know if I care all that much at this moment, this particular moment. Plus, it doesn't help this thing is not on a symmetrical axis at all either. Yeah, just eyeballing it for now is fine. Like getting it 90% of the way there, and it makes the cleanup easier. And lets you be a little bit more free in exploration. So rounded and dumb looking, but it shouldn't matter all that much at this stage. Let's check out these pads. Oh, those are cool. I dig those. But the thing is, like, I want this part to, like, I've got an idea of the materials I want to do. Like, I want that part to be, oh man, it's a little bit too far off his skin there. I want this part to be hard plastic to sort of match what I'm doing with the boots. I'm actually pretty happy with the boots as they are. Let's pop out that part, pop down this part. Fits the shape of his arm a little bit better. Still one down? Okay, one sec. I'm gonna cut in right there, that'll look pretty good too. I'll be right back, guys. You're too hard on yourself, Ashley. 1 second. Sorry about that, I had to go fetch my dog. Yeah, that beach environment we're still working on. I want to, we kind of moved away from it for in the near, just like temporarily, but definitely gonna bring it back. I want to, pretty soon I'm gonna do something where it's like, the guys at Pixo want me to go like into our game and show the stuff that we did on the channel. Show it in game, so that'll be fun. Dynamesh with groups. I should pull that part out. Sure did. So what I did there is I put the group slider on. Oops. Why is this not working? And then the part that I grouped off just kind of chunks off of it. See some nice panel cutaways. Alright, much happier with this already. I guess the key now is going to be how does it like this like hard area, how does it attach to this, you know, sort of cuff underneath it? You know, it could be something I saw, something just like, oh, I'll put a bolt right here, a bolt right there, and you know, kind of you'd think that they're kind of like welded together almost, or like some sort of like, you know, you can imagine like a cloth buckle or some kind, like affixing the hard part. Like if you think of like the way ski boots kind of look, where they meet, like snowboard and ski boots, where they join the hard plastic to like the felt, you know, stuff like that. Like you kind of see like some metal works, and like a lot of times it's like, you know, screws that are covered up by buttons that kind of like fix them together underneath the actual garment. That might be all I need, meaning like just a little alpha to kind of show connection of some kind there and here. And just be like, yeah, it's a fix there, leave me alone. But I could also do straps that like connect behind this thing. Maybe just like, you know, if I do sew lines, you know, something to think about. I'll just leave it like that for now. Game engine, Unreal Engine 4, and no, I was a network engineer for most of my career at Activision. Never an artist professionally until we started our own studio. But I'm not programming our game. My partner Jay does like 99% of our programming, and you know, every now and then he'll do like 1% of the art, and I'll do 1%. I'll check in some code, but for the most part, like he's handling all the tech, I'm handling all the art in Unreal Engine 4, and it has been a change. I'll tell you that. This is not my forte in terms of like what I've been spending my career on, but it's going okay. I mean, we're not altogether embarrassed by it, which is like really the main goal. You know, low standards, but we're happy with where it's at right now and where it's going. Alt H is a good brush to like grab corners. It's the hard polish brush, but you hold Alt to make it like you make the corner grow up to the brush. Helps you like avoid that roundedness that comes with polishing. Just want to fight that as much as you can. Yeah, I actually picked up Z Scene Manager. That's a good plugin. But I think just part of it, actually, I should probably say it before I start getting into plugins. Part of it for me though is still just like this is a pretty useful little tool because you can do things to like all subtools at the same time. It gives you a nice overview of like what's got polypaint, UVs and so on. But I still find that like if you got a lot of subtools, ZBrush just becomes difficult. And I just try to, if I get too many subtools, like if I have like, I had some armor pieces on my last character that just like the shoulder strap had like 20 subtools, and so I ended up just doing like combining everything to one decimated mesh, and then taking the other 20 subtools and like moving that into a new file and just doing everything in a new file and then bringing it back and forth and just trying to split out the subtool for the purposes of just visibility and scrolling around and working. No, I appreciate that, Rye. I mean, yeah, it's been chaos and a lot of learning to do still, but you know, as far as like, you know, we started Disc Jam a little bit over 2 years ago, and it's already on multiple platforms and launched worldwide. So you know, it definitely exceeded our expectations on what we set out to do in the first place. It was a pretty, you know, daunting, but you know, like we were had low expectations for it, like from the beginning. Why with this diamond mesh? Is there something hidden? Yeah, those things. Really hidden. No, diamond mesh. But I appreciate that. Yeah, we're just trying to get better every day, and that's kind of. Dude. There it is. Couldn't ZBrush that piece for some reason. And, you know, it's not a big game. I mean, like we do have a few characters that were pretty time consuming, but we also you know, we only have one map, and so we're trying to like just expand what art content is in the game. And we have very little like as far as like 2D content and like, you know, painted UI and like doing like a proper, you know, design and key art and all that. We don't have any of that. So like, you know, part of me wants to just contract that stuff out, but another part of me is like, well, I'm not sure how much it matters, to be honest. I honestly don't put a lot of. I think if like we were gonna do a full designed kind of cohesive look where the UI matches the in-game art and it's all, you know, a little bit more polished, if we're gonna spend time on polishing it, we'd probably do it in our next game. Retrofitting a bunch of polished 2D art to Disc Jam just seems like it'd be a waste of time. And, you know, I'm from the sort of Call of Duty school of I'm not so sure that like UI matters all that much, especially when you're talking about like in-game UI matters a great deal, I think. As far as the menus going into the game, I just don't think I've ever seen it even mentioned in like a review, let alone like. It certainly communicates overall polish, and polish is something people care about. But as far as like time versus payoff, I don't know if the time value is there, which is how we try to like kind of judge every decision we make in terms of what we work on. Round off that part a little bit more. Alright, that's not bad actually. I'm a lot happier with that than the other piece, and I can, like I said, I can take that in, do some low poly on this, and be all set. I'm not gonna do that on channel because A, it's boring as hell to watch. I've done it before, like just meticulously low polyed. Retopologize one of our discs from Disc Jam, like I did one of our like game ready pieces, and I went back and watched the video. I was like, oh man, this like sucks to watch. Like, you know, like sculpting minor details isn't always fun to watch, but you know, hand drawing strings of low resolution topology is just, even though it's kind of soothing to work on, to be honest, it's like kind of like just calming, like meditative. It sucks to watch, so I won't do that here. But I'm already a lot happier with how this looks than how it was before. A little bit of polish. It's got a nice bend to it. Has a nice little angle at it. Yeah, I'm very happy with that. And I'll probably do the how it connects to the cuff underneath. I'll probably do that just in the texture. I'll probably do either some strappies or, like I said, some kind of like buckle configuration that would drill in through these corners here. Another good brush that move accurate is a nice way to like see how it draws to a point right there. So when you're doing hard surface and you find yourself like with these like little weird corners, you can just grab what the point's supposed to be and just give it a little nudge, and it starts giving you the like. It starts pulling it along like to the fall off. That brush is in the ZBrush. It like ships with it under move. It's supposed to be, it's under move, but I took it and I moved it into my startup folder because I want it to be always there. But yeah, it's move accurate. Where did it go? There it is. Yeah, that's helpful. Hold on one second. Oh, thank you, Mad Dog. The music is from, there's like this video game channel that does like, I think it's called video game music for studying. So I've been doing a lot of like chiptune music in the past, just because I was doing some retro themed stuff. But someone put me onto this. I saw on another art stream they were doing video game music for studying, so I gave it a listen and I was like, oh, this is like nice and calming and works for what I'm doing. Whoops, looks like that's going to cause me problems in the future, so I'm just going to quickly grab my back face mask and fill this out. If I've got back face mask on, then it won't affect the other side like I've done here. I just want that to not be hollow, because hollow clay causes problems. Like I said, it doesn't need to be perfect, just needs to be like rough enough that I can draw topology over it and get it tightened up. Whoops. See. Smooth tool. loops. I really want there to be a strap there. Why not? Poly loop. Key mesh that. Hold control to pull off that ring. Some groups, polish by groups. I'll pull them in a little bit. Let me know if the music's too loud or too quiet. I can't really tell. part settled. That's the main thing I have left to do. Just get some high poly detail on this jacket. You know what? I got more to do on this boot. Gotta figure out how this strap's gonna work. I think I actually had a reference image for this. Wrestling boot image. Trying to track it down. Does Pinterest get rid of pins? Like its underlying content goes away? Is it cool? Black and white. I can no longer find. Oh, maybe it's just in my search. Yes, I'm working with ZModeler. Hi, B-Sense. I'm working with ZModeler and Dynamesh. Like, I don't know if you were here during this last part, but this used to be like a low poly block mesh that I didn't like the design of, so I turned it into Dynamesh clay and started just playing around with it, trying to get it the shape I wanted. Speaking of which, it looks like. I'm gonna make this symmetrical at a later date. But yeah, you know, like when I start with for the organic stuff, especially like the skin and the body, everything, it all starts Dynamesh for sure. And you know, Dynamesh is great because it's where I can like start working out this design and just playing with where I think the shape language needs to go. That's what kind of I love Dynamesh for. You know, then before too long it becomes what's the word? It becomes sort of prohibitive for your high resolution topology. So like Dynamesh is how I kind of get like this is all Dynamesh down here, right? Like just getting like that design worked out. Like that's obviously not a very clean mesh, but now that I like the design, I like the shape, I like where the rivets fall in relation to each other. I like how it all looks. Then that allows me to sort of move on, so to speak, and then from there I can start doing my low and high resolution geometry. What is this thing doing? Oh. It's a transformation layer. Do I Z-remesh it? What's up, Mystic? Welcome. Will I Z-remesh after that? Well, it depends. Like, for example, like this jacket was totally Z-remeshed. And I'm pretty happy with the topology. You know, it's a pretty simple shape. It's cylindrical. It turned out just fine. That Z remesh gave me game ready topology. This is going to deform nice and cleanly. Looks like there's a second edge in there. Yeah, there is. I'll show you guys how to fix that real quick. there's a weld tool underneath the geometry menu, weld points. So I just did a quick weld, and that closed that seam right there. See that little seam? Did a quick weld, now it's closed. I've got a clean geo. And symmetrical as well. So yeah, it all depends. But then, like, if I tried to Z-remesh this gauntlet, for example, the problem would be is that it would lose a lot of the hard surface detail on these places. So I think for the thing that would make the most sense for this is to just hop into the topology brush, draw out some strips of quads, and that'll be what I end up working with. And then I can crease those edges and really crease those edges, make it symmetrical, and then really hone in on the final design. But for now, like I said before, I'm just kind of happy with where it is, and I can move on knowing that like it's gonna work because I got it where I want it. Yeah, Topology brush is this little guy down here. It's pretty useful. I actually used it earlier to get the belt wrapped up. Like, all you do is just draw the string, right? And it'll automatically find polys as you cross them. There's a way to like automatically delete all the extra stuff. But yeah, so that topology brush, now if I just tap it, it'll create a strip of topology right there. I'll probably want to go through this whole thing and another string right there. Probably. Yeah, it's pretty quick. The main thing being is that like I want this to be symmetrical, and this doesn't have a symmetrical axis. Like this thing is not mirrored across the world geo. So some of this work might be throwaway right now because I'm not really sure the best way to. I'm probably gonna end up taking this into Maya to finish up the other half of it. But I guess I'll just, for the purpose of demonstrating the tool, this up. Yeah, it's a really great little tool. It can be finicky at times. You know, sometimes you got to wrestle with it a little bit. But overall, it's pretty robust and seems to work really well. I will not slow down. You don't know how good this is, obviously. Oops. Damn it, there's a way to... Okay, there we go. Now we got it. Usually when it dies, it takes a second. So, okay, what I was basically saying, Deadly Midnight, is, yeah, so let me just catch up here with chat. So, yeah, vSense, feel free to link your sculpt, and I'll take a look. And yeah, Deadly Midnight, I was basically just like, I had a piece of kind of block out low resolution that was previously what the kind of cuff looked like. It was a little boring, a little dull. So I turned it into a Dynamesh, which is what this is. Sculpt out some corners and like fix how the thing fits on his arm. I like that design a lot better. And then so someone asked about Topology brush, so I went through the Topology brush, and yeah, who was asking about that? Yeah, Anka, basically like what you do is like you draw your Topology strings, and then you just tap it. And when you tap it, that's how you'll get the new geo for it. I'm pretty sure there's a way to control how thick the geo is. I think it's on the brush size, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, brush size controls the thickness. So you take your brush size down, it'll be thin. But I typically just like let it be a little bit thick, and then I'll delete the remaining faces off of it anyway, which is what I did here. Now the next step is this, because this was like sort of a sketch sculpt, it's not symmetrical, which you'd kind of want it to be, as you'd figured it'd be a manufactured piece like it is. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna throw it over to Maya and set a mirror plane right there on it, and that should allow me just to kind of mirror it in place. So let's give that a shot. What's up, Dragons? How you doing? Let's take a look here. So yeah, it looks pretty solid here. I like this vSense. Looks like you got some decent cloth sculpting going on. The hands feel a little thin. Maybe you're going for that. Like the wrists feel a little thin. And if you look at it, like the size of the eye is just about the same width as the size of the wrist. I'm not sure if you're going for that, but that's the one thing that kind of stands out to me. Everything else looks pretty good. Did you do the folds yourself naturally, or did you use like Marvelous Designer or something? They look pretty good. And yeah, I know the pain of sculpting hair like this. It's time consuming and everything can get kind of lumpy in ZBrush especially. Yeah, it's looking good, man. Does he have a Well, 3D printing, you can if you want to adjust that and get the poly count down, that's not too tough because, when you have a high poly count, you can start, doing a decimation. You can start paring it down, dynameshing that, like doing a Z remesher, and then duplicating on top of that to get cleaner geos. I mean, you should be able to solve that problem. Um, you know, 3D printing is just nothing I'm super familiar with, but so what I'm basically trying to do now is just like, sorry, there's construction outside all of a sudden. I'll mute my mic real quick. So yeah, what I'm trying to do basically is just get a good mirror plane so that I can sort of it's actually pretty close. Pretty happy with that. What have I done? I blew it. I want that manipulator back. Is it? It is. Nice. Okay. That was closer to 5. So now it's nice and mirrored. I think that should work out great. So I'm sending from Maya back to ZBrush. Hopefully it doesn't crash, which looks like it might. There we go. just about did it. Shortcut to hide all the other subtools is 0. Actually, I think it is for everybody. I'm not sure it's a custom shortcut, but it's solo mode. I might have set it to 0 in my custom settings, but I think it's 0 for everybody. I'm just not sure. There we go. Nice hard surface piece. With minimal geo. 176 total points. Probably means like, I don't know, about 50 or so faces. That will do. Sorry for all the noise. this cycle. This one is not. Bowden, what's up? Welcome. How you doing? There's way too much poly detail in this thing. English only, please. I don't really know what that. I don't speak whatever language you're speaking. Welcome. Hang out. Just can't converse with you. Can't answer your questions. Unfortunate. Don't speak Russian, man. I don't really know. I can't help you. I don't speak the language. If you want to fire it off into Google Translate or something and try to get a translation going, maybe I can help. But Effects Animator, yeah, I do. Substance Painter is where I do like basically all my texturing. I'm gonna end up doing that belt in Substance Painter. Just like this is just a little design sketch on top, but I'll throw this belt into Substance Painter, and so I'll probably create an alpha to like find out how much texture resolution I can really get away with. And I'll build something like this in Substance Painter, but just like a lot more refined and crisp. If they're separate material IDs, no, you can't really work that way. So like you have what, like a, it also, well, it can depend on your UV space as well, because like if you have UVs that align to certain parts of the grid, then if you duplicated the material and placed it on the other side, if your other modular assets aligned on the same part of the grid using the same material, then it would be seamless. That's if you're, you know, I'm talking about fill layers though. If you're talking about like painting brush strokes across seams, I guess it would kind of still apply, but yeah, that all depends. When you have different material IDs. Is there a reason you have different material IDs? Because different material IDs essentially means different textures in my mind. Like the way I work, I split up my material IDs by the geo that's going to have, you know, different textures, and that's what Substance Painter is for, is like compiling all that stuff down into texture space. So yeah, especially for environment too, because with environments a lot of people actually do two sets of UVs, one for like sharing baked detail and trim sheets and like, you know, reusing texture space for like filling the actual like render texture, and then the second UV channel would be like your totally flat light map UVs. And so you may think about like, and those tend to, like, for the purposes of making no seams in your light map, those tend to line up to the borders or do things in a very straight edge way, with limited islands, because you don't want a lot of light bleeding when you're baking your light maps. So whatever seams you have, you can work around. It's just a matter of how, really. Well, it's not to do the separate detail layer as much as it's just, I mean, a separate UV channel, it'll depend on how you set up your mesh, of course. Like, it wouldn't be like a detail. I don't know if you're like, I don't know what problem you're trying to solve here. If the seams you're getting are because of tiling materials and Substance Painter, then, you know, if you're working across texture, I mean, like, a new material ID is a new draw call, and what if you're doing a first-person VR game, what you would want to do is limit as many draw calls as possible. So either try to find a way to put that mesh all in one texture and work out resolution in a different way. Every material slot on a mesh, so meaning every texture ID, material ID, that's another draw call for that mesh. So you really want to limit that. Like I said, if you're building a single, that doesn't say that you never want to do that, because sometimes you want different materials for different slots. Of course, I get that. But if you're authoring substance textures, if you're authoring textures in Substance Painter, it's probably with the end goal of dropping it onto your render mesh. And so I think I would just try to find ways to put that all in one texture and make it one draw call. And then even if you do that, like seams across mesh IDs would happen. So I'm not sure why they'd be visible, because if you had another mesh ID, like do you have like a faces on, so different wall shapes, and I can only use a max of 2048 res per texture because it's mobile VR. 2048 is high. I mean, at that point I would look into building like tiling materials that I mean, like you could tile a 512. Sure, I mean, like I know it's like you're covering more geo, but that's why, like, you don't want to, like, you make like a paint texture. It depends. Like I said, without seeing the asset, it's kind of hard to say. But like my what I tend to do with situations like that is I just use the texture to define, like, metal grimy, painted metal blue, painted metal green, whatever it is, and like define those materials. And the only thing I would extract from Substance Painter is just like masks and stuff, and just like if your like material ID is like a seam for like the wall you're making, like you want this part to be plastic, that part to be metal, it's hard to say without seeing the exact asset how to solve that problem. But yeah, you get better resolution by using tiling textures and breaking them up in the shader. It's more cost effective. Daisy Fizzle, yeah, I do. Are you saying just apply the tile like directly? Yeah, exactly. So like a tile material, volcanic rock walls, right? So like I would make like a rocky texture that tiled, and you're gonna have artifacts because you can see the tiling when you start zooming out, obviously. So like what you do is like you make macro detail that lays on top of that, and then you make micro detail that you can like kind of spruce in whatever, and so that'll like erase the sort of tiling artifacts so you don't have like the same stamp everywhere. But yeah, you do that under Engine 4, like you could combine 2 or 3 textures to make a rock wall that looks good at sort of any scale, and then the shader itself is pretty cheap because you're only hitting you only have one material ID, and there's a few textures involved with that material, and then then you export your geo with like a lot less seams and material IDs and draw calls. Do I use Maya 2018? I'm still on 2017. I do a lot of scripting and I write my own tools and stuff often. So every time there's an update, some part of that workflow tends to get busted along the way. So I'm pretty careful about when I update that. For now, though, I'm sticking with 2017. 2017 is nice and stable. I think I'm on update 5, I think is latest. And yeah, it's been great. Like it's you know, they did a ton of the UV edits they made to this one as well. So there are some new things in 2018 that I'm excited about. Like I've watched a lot of the videos on the new workflows, especially the UV new workflows. But you know, just the big revamp came in 2016 extension 2 that added all this stuff, and now this stuff's all here. I'm not needing any of the new stuff just yet, so I'm still using 2017. I think it's more stable. I tend to wait on the new releases for a few months, just because I just don't know. I'm just not confident. And make sure UV's at the edge of the UV space. Yeah, well, if it's like a square plane that you want to like kind of just like place all around, like be a wall, right? Then yeah, like it depends on like how you want to export it. Like if you're gonna keep them as like individual, like here's my 4x4 wall, then yeah, you'd want your edges to be at the corner of the UV spaces so that you can just tile it however you want, and every single piece will just align. But something I like to do also is that like I'll export, because I'm not using modular pieces in a way that like we're building some big interactive map, we're building like a stationary stadium, I'll just like break them up and I'll do all my sewing together inside of Maya, and it'll kind of dictate what UVs need to be where, so that helps. And you have a little shape to them too, like, you know, it again, like it depends on, like, you can still do that technique. It just kind of, it's a bit of you just gotta, it's just basically planning really more than anything. No, because like those tiling layers are just doing simple operations. They're doing like some multiplication, some adds. Some cases you want to do like a power or subtract node. Those aren't very instruction heavy things. In fact, like, you know, being intelligent about how you can take like even a tiny texture like 256. You can take like a 256 grime texture and apply that as macro detail at like a pretty tiny scale or a pretty tiny you know, subtle, and it will break up all the tiling artifacts. It'll cost almost nothing in memory, and you won't be able to see how small the resolution is because of how it's being applied to the texture. So like, you're not talking about like, if you're talking about, sure, if you're talking about like a lava where it's like, you know, layer 1 is the rock and like layer 2 is like this coursing lava that has a panning texture on it, and it has its own like, you know, rocky grain with parallax occlusion mapping on that. Like, then you start getting to the point where it's like you're gonna hit your 16 texture material limit and you're gonna start costing way too many instructions. So yeah, I mean, like, it's a double-edged sword. You got to be careful with it, like anything else in game art assets. But for the most part, like doing something like that, you're not even necessarily doing material layering, because material layering is expensive. If you do material layers with an alpha, then what that does is it causes one full, like, you have to basically draw the mesh for each material. So that can be expensive. But what I'm describing is different. It's like you just have textures of like small, medium, and large size, and then those textures are basically multiplied, added, subtracted together to just create a material that can project on a world plane without noticing the tiling, basically. Yeah, layered materials are heavy in performance. So like, not so much layered material as I'm saying like a shader that tiles, but with, you know, macro and micro detail. So you would tile at like different UV scales, and you could get away with like maybe you're trying to get away with 1K or 2K for your like basic rock material, but then, you know, you throw a layer of grime on top, or you throw like some, you know, you can do things like take a world position material and like multiply like the world position based on some other, you know, low resolution cloud, and just like, you know, you could do things like that to like just make the world have its own tiling on it. There's a lot of techniques out there. Yeah, alpha is always kind of expensive because like the way alpha basically ends up working always is just like to draw it twice and then like use the alpha to show one versus the other, which is just kind of always going to be expensive. You know, my main thing was like, oh well, we're only doing one stadium, so let's just make all of our assets a la carte. But even then, it's like you're spending so much time managing different textures, and it's like, you know, it's more expensive in texture memory, but cheaper everywhere else. So like we just basically have very simple shaders. Yeah, but all that being said, it ends up being like a real time saver to just, you know, be able to fill large areas with colors and materials that look okay, and then you know, hopefully those materials themselves aren't too pricey, and try to like solve your issues there. And a lot of times you can even just use math as opposed to textures to generate some of the point clouds you might be trying to create, or not point clouds, but effect texture resolution effects, or rather textures with tiling textures with detail can sometimes be created with math, noises, things like that. I wish I was better at texture math. Shader math is not something I ever really worked on in my career, and it's something I really want to get better at. And it's not second nature to me, and I wish it was, because it just would free me up so much more creatively if I knew how to author kind of any material I could describe in my head. It's such a foreign concept to me. It's a foreign language. I don't understand it. what's crazy is if you watch the Paragon character art stream they did, is on Montreal Dev Days. They talk about the Paragon characters are all layered materials. Like sometimes up to like 6 or 7 layers, and it's like that's gotta be. I mean, like they did everything for Paragon to like with performance in mind, but I don't know how that would run on VR mobile. Obviously, Paragon's not meant to, but the technique is cool because it's like they just make a bunch of materials that they can reuse on all the characters. So all you really ever have to do is like export masks, and you don't ever do any actual character unique textures, which is kind of interesting to me. You're just always building material, and then those materials stay in your material library forever. And as your material library grows, so does your kind of ability to shade stuff in interesting ways. I always thought that was cool how they did that, but I don't know how like well it works for things like performance and what the net gains are. Let's just do this. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm trying out a workflow like that myself on our next map. I'm just kind of building up some base materials and seeing how I can apply them to big pieces, like just big areas of world space, and seeing if I can make it look decent without having to spend too much time on it. Because I do like the thing I like about it is that, like, as you build materials, your library for all your maps, all your games becomes bigger. Like if you make a affordable glass texture that looks good, you know, odds are you can use that across all your games. You know, so like I like the idea of the work you're doing goes into some non-destructive pipeline, which is like what I'm trying to accomplish here. All right. Yeah, world alignment's a big thing. That's a very helpful thing. You want to be able to, definitely want to be able to author those where and when the situation calls for it. Why can't I close that? Looks like there's a face in there. Little tiny face. Yeah, no problem, man. It's my pleasure. Hopefully it's helpful to you. More and more I've been using the streams as a, you know, forcing myself to get into ZBrush and making sure that I'm putting work towards this model every week. Otherwise it's easy to just get bogged down and get busy with other stuff. Oh, it's after 3 already. Lost track of time. Alright, that's it for me today. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Got a new gauntlet done, happy with that. Yeah, I move so much slower on the channel, it's really frustrating. But, you know, making progress here. Finishing up these little blockouts so I can get ready to texture soon. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll be back next Thursday. Alright guys, see ya.